Hello everyone, I'm Katie Murray, and today I will be talking about Tosi's observations on the florid song and the importance of this treatise and historical treatises of its nature to modern vocal pedagogy. Pier Francesco Tosi was a popular castrati tenor, voice teacher, and pedagogue of the late 17th century and early 18th century. He was praised for his expression and passion in his performances, and the same passion is heavily evident through his writings. This work, The Observations on the Florid Song, was the first work of length and significance written about teaching the bel canto style. Rather than the highly technical, physiological teaching of some of the later writers on this topic, Tosi emphasized aural aesthetics, a results-based instruction focused on tone, intonation, and tasteful ornamentation. Tosi explains his intentions early on when he says, "I will in the first place endeavor to show the duty of the master how to instruct a beginner well. Secondly, what is required of the scholar. And lastly, with more mature reflections, to point out the way to a moderate singer, by which he may arrive at greater perfection." The observations are mainly formatted toward professional voice teachers, who he refers to as masters, although Tosi believes that each master must also be a singer and a scholar. Where one is, for full utility in the art of singing, all three must be. Tosi's observations is vastly successful in achieving its intentions. As one of, if not the most well-known vocal treatises of all time, it remains one of the most helpful in realizing and developing bel canto technique in the manner in which it would have been sung. Blending specific, practical instruction with his poetic opinions, Tosi supplies a wealth of information for each of his three subjects: the master, the scholar, and the singer. The duty of the voice teacher, or the master, according to Tosi, is to instruct the student to the best of their ability, not only in the art and intricacies of singing, but also in comportment, disposition, and musical knowledge. Tosi places special emphasis on the more difficult, thankless duties of the voice teacher. He says, "From the first lesson to the last, let the master remember that he is answerable for any omission in his instructions, and for the errors he did not correct." Next, Tosi addresses the study of the scholar. Every student, master, and singer must be a scholar and ardent researcher of their craft. Indeed, Tosi declares the best singer in the world continues to study and persists in it as much to maintain his reputation as he did to acquire it. He advises the musician to constantly be studying to improve their craft, learning the translations of all words that they sing, as well as how to accompany himself, understand theory, counterpoint, music history, and practice all aspects of the craft constantly. Finally, Tosi gives advice for the young professional singer. Along with a beautiful, well-trained voice and constantly studying, he advises the young professional to always behave with grace and esteem and hold a clean, respectable character. Tosi is disdainful of arrogance and mediocrity because each one signals ignorance, which he despises most in a singer. Is this work useful to the modern pedagogue? In short, yes. In order to teach early music to a singer in an engaging and knowledgeable way, we as teachers need to apply a concept coined by musicologist and pedagogue Rebecca Sipus called historical thinking. This term is defined as an approach to the study of history that examines primary sources critically, asks questions of them rather than seeking simple answers, and synthesizes them to construct arguments and narratives about peoples and events of the past. Historical thinking and the study of primary sources are important more now than ever to the modern pedagogue. With the resurgence of historically informed performance, today's voice teacher must be up to date on the performance practice of their music. Ironically, being up to date on early music means careful study of the treatises and documents of the period of music that you're working on. As Sipus says, the goal is not simply to understand the past, but, to greater or lesser extents, to breathe new life into sources from the past, reanimating them in ways that will be compelling for listeners in the present moment. Tosi's observations on the florid song and other primary sources should be studied by any teachers and students that perform the music of that era. Tosi's observations is one of the most accessible of said treatises, with easily understood explanations and an overflow of passionate poetic writing. It can be used as an effective stepping stone into the world of historically informed performance and early music. The observations and such sources would best be used to determine the techniques and thought processes that form early music. Once teachers and students have that necessary knowledge, they can decide whether they want to perform authentic early music, as well as determining their own definition of authenticity. For as musicologist and instrument maker Robert Levin asks, which is more authentic? The allegedly tasteless excesses whose wide practice is confirmed by these writings, these treatises, or the alternative, more conservative views of the critics and theorists? Studying primary sources such as this work is essential to any teacher or student of early music. A teacher cannot instruct that which they do not understand. And a complete understanding of the style and techniques of early music is impossible without careful consultation of the era's treatises. Realizing the intentions of the composer as much as possible can be immensely helpful to any teacher or student learning their compositions. It's truly a great gift to have resources such as this treatise, original opinions and instructions as to how composers wish their work to be performed, with the vocal pedagogy of their time. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope the rest of your day is lovely.